So in chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's been laying out this incredible framework for understanding ourselves. He talks about divine and demonic qualities, the trap of ego, and how, when we deny our own responsibility, our character starts to harden. But then he drops a line that honestly stops a lot of people cold, and it's one of the most misunderstood parts of the entire text.
Right after explaining all this, he makes a statement that can sound unbelievably harsh. And it brings us to this huge question. Is Krishna actually passing judgment here? Is he condemning people to some sort of eternal doom? Or is he just describing something else entirely? Something more like a law of physics for our inner world.
And here it is. This is the line that just throws people for a loop. Some paths lead downward. On the surface, that sounds like a threat, doesn't it? A final, absolute judgment? But to really get what Krishna means, we have to look at the context he's already so carefully built.
And you've got to remember, this isn't coming out of the blue, right? He's spent the whole chapter laying out these two opposing forces inside all of us, the divine tendencies that pull us toward freedom and clarity, and the demonic ones, which are all about ego and just wanting more, more, more. But the key piece, the real trigger, is the denial of accountability. That's what sets a person on a whole different trajectory.
All right, so let's completely reframe this, because this is where the big misunderstanding happens. This isn't about some divine judge in a courtroom handing out sentences. The warning is about something way more subtle and way more immediate. It's not about punishment. It's about a process of shrinking. Let's break down what that actually means.
The common take is that Krishna is basically pointing fingers, calling people evil, and saying they deserve to be punished, like the Gita is some kind of holy courtroom. But the reality he's describing is an internal state of being. It's about growing confusion, your awareness literally shrinking, and the grip of your own compulsions just getting tighter and tighter. It's a psychological diagnosis, not a legal verdict. So, okay, let's nail down what we mean by a downward path. When Krishna says downward, he means a state where your own clarity and your own freedom are decreasing. Think of it like this. It's a path where your very ability to make conscious, free choices actually starts to fade. You become more and more a creature of habit, of impulse, of compulsion.
And this is the key takeaway, really. The tragedy of the downward path isn't that some external punishment is piling up. No, the tragedy is the path itself, the slow, steady erosion of your own agency, your own freedom to choose.
Okay, so how does this even happen? How does someone find themselves on this path? Well, Krishna's clear. It's not random, and it's definitely not an overnight thing. He explains that it's a direct result of our own choices, which build up a kind of momentum that creates our trajectory. Your character literally starts to build your path, one brick at a time.
Think about it like this. Every single choice you make, big or small, is like a rep at the gym for your perception. If you consistently choose humility, you start seeing more options, more possibilities in the world. But if you choose arrogance, your field of vision literally narrows. Honesty brings clarity. It cleans the lens, while dishonesty just distorts everything, like looking through a funhouse mirror.
Wow, this line right here is so powerful. Character becomes destiny. But notice the really important distinction he makes. This isn't about some preordained fate you can't escape. It's about momentum. The thoughts and actions you repeat just gain speed and force over time, making it that much harder to change direction later on.
And you can actually see what this looks like in practice. The path starts to bend, not all at once, but just steadily. Instead of actually reflecting on your actions, you just start justifying them. Instead of using discernment to figure out the right thing to do, you just use aggression to steamroll your way through. And finally, taking responsibility gets replaced by outright denial. Each step just makes the next one almost unavoidable.
All right, let's drill down to the absolute core of this whole thing. Krishna totally pinpoints the exact moment the real fall happens. And you know what? It's not what most of us would think. It's an internal event, a tiny shift in your mind that locks the whole downward spiral in place.
So get this, the most dangerous part isn't doing the wrong thing. We all mess up, right? That's not the catastrophe. The real poison, the moment the spiral locks in for good, is the self-justification that comes after. It's when you refuse to see a mistake as a mistake. That's what corrupts the whole system.
And Krishna even describes the mindset, kind of like the source code that powers this self-deception. It's built on a foundation of beliefs like these.
This deep feeling of entitlement, the conviction that there's no real moral or cosmic order out there, and of course, the ultimate declaration of the ego, I answer to no one.
And once those beliefs are locked in, the cycle just runs itself. It's totally predictable. Any feedback from the world, from other people, it just gets rejected as an attack. Any chance to correct course is actively fought against. And then comes the most tragic result of all, learning stops. That right there is the real downward movement, losing the ability to self-correct.
Now, to really drive this home, the Gita presents this whole concept not as, some angry God making personal judgments. No, it's more like a description of the universe's operating system. The consequences are just built into the fabric of reality, just like the laws of nature.
It really is this simple. If you ignore the law of gravity and you decide to step off a cliff, you will fall. Period. Gravity isn't personally punishing you. It's just a structural fact of the world we live in.
It's the same thing, right? If you consistently ignore the basic principles of health, you eat terribly, you never move, you don't sleep, well, illness becomes a pretty likely outcome. Your body isn't punishing you, it's just responding to the conditions you've created.
And this is exactly the Gita's point. In the exact same way, if you ignore the ethical and psychological structure of reality, by constantly acting with unchecked ego, with dishonesty, with arrogance, an internal or external collapse is simply the natural result. Reality doesn't bend for our ego. It's not personal, it's physics.
So when you see it through that lens, Krishna's warning is totally transformed, isn't it? It stops being a threat and becomes this incredibly compassionate statement of fact. He's like a guide pointing to a dangerous cliff edge and just saying, hey, be careful. This path, it won't take you where you think it will. This path will shrink you.
So as we wrap up our dive into chapter 16, the whole point just clicks into place, right? This was never about slapping labels like good or bad on people. It's about understanding that we are always, in every single moment, choosing a direction.
And at the end of the day, it really boils down to two fundamental directions. There's the divine path, the one based on truth, self-control, compassion, and that's the path that expands our freedom. And then there's the demonic path, based on arrogance, ego, and denial, and that's the one that constricts it. The outcome is baked right into the direction you choose.
And that leaves us with the real question we should be asking ourselves. It's not some static judgment of our character. The question isn't, am I a good person or a bad person? The dynamic, living question is this: which direction am I moving? Day by day, choice by choice, am I becoming more capable of seeing and living in truth, or less?
And believe me, this exploration of our inner landscape goes even deeper in chapter 17. Krishna's going to show us how our core beliefs and our faith literally shape our behavior. And, fascinatingly, he explains why even the most sincere, heartfelt faith can end up misleading us if it's not combined with real clarity. I really hope you'll join me for that explanation.